Thank you all for your patience. This is a hybrid session. What I will do is while we're waiting, I'll introduce myself. We'll be really fancy and academic and I'm gonna kneel like this and get around that. I'm Christine Maines. I'm with CASAS. I'm a CASAS National Program Specialist. You have emailed the training desk at CASAS. You may have had an exchange with me, or if you called CASAS, you may have had, you're sick of hearing it, have spoken with me on the phone. I'm actually the national coordinator for the CASAS Consortium and certified trainers. We have trainers from 49 states. All across the United States. We're still working on North Dakota.
I know, I'm here, I'm pushing.
Yeah,
I know.
And we're excited about that. So
I'm
that's
afraid to
part of
leave
what
and come
we do.
back.
Another thing that I do is come to these conferences and meet great people who are doing really good work like yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because I don't want to delay you. You're here on time. Couple of housekeeping things. We are here for 70 minutes. Everybody has different needs. If you need a drink of water, there's some right outside. Duck out, do what you need to do, come right back. There are also
They don't want
pens.
us in the
You will need a
Zoom.
the green Post-it notes that are on the chairs. So if someone could volunteer to grab a swag of those and then walk, just make sure everybody has a green Post-it note and a pen, so that you can make a note. I am going to ask for a couple of things because I want to check for understanding, because first and foremost, I am a teacher. I taught in a learning lab. And I do want to just set some norms that if we could hold sidebar conversations to a minimum, that would be really helpful because we're going to be moving fairly
US
quickly.
moderator?
I also know that some of us are talkers and we talk about things to process information. Does that make sense? And I'm okay with that as long as it's on task talk, right? So if you're like, hey, maybe this would be a good idea for, right, whatever, I get that. So no stress there. I just want to set that norm.
Makes me wonder.
We process things with each other when we're whispering. If you could just whisper it or make a note and pass it to the person beside you. I'm okay with passing notes in my classroom because that's
There it
how
is.
we learn,
How
right?
did you?
I'm super excited to be here. We
Here, let's just take.
have launched a brand new reading and listening
I'm gonna
test for
hang out
ESL.
in the back.
I hate
Let's hold
microphones,
that.
but I'm doing my favorite, best thing as I can.
The hybrid community is on to.
Welcome, a hybrid community. We're glad you're here. So, this is called the reading steps test. I just want to get a sense of who's in the room, okay? So just a sense of, it's not advanced. Okay. All right. So I want to get a sense of who's in the room first. 2 o'clock is a fun time to try to teach. Anybody ever taught an afternoon classroom? Yeah, raise your hands high. Yep. So you do a little song and a tap dance, right? And have some fun. We are excited about this STEP series. Our preliminary research studies for the last almost 2 years that people have been using it are phenomenal. Students are making faster gains. Students are having more targeted instruction based on what they need to know and reaching their goals faster. We've seen programs like in Tennessee. Can you give me the percentage, Carl? I cannot remember. What was Rebecca's gain, average gain for her students in the pilot? It was like 13 or 14 points on the scale score. They had 40-some% increase for their students. So 40% of their students made a significant gain, which is 5 or more. That's impressive. And we're excited to see that this test has been designed so well that the NRS approved it for 7 years. That is a full stamp of approval that says you're good for 7 years, not 3 years, 7 years, right? So that's a stamp of approval for us. So we feel really good about that. Raise your hand if you're an administrator. I know I'm going to see lots of hands. I'm going to pretend that I'm at the district again, okay? Raise your hand if you're an administrator. Great. Raise your hand if you were coordinating testing. Okay, raise your hand if you are an instructor. Yeah, lots of hats, right? How many hats can we wear all at once? Raise your hand if you're support specialist, staff, and doing data or intake or something like that. And those need to, right? Raise your hand if you have to plunge the toilet. Yeah, okay. And raise your hand if you have to do the dishes that are dirty in the lounge, wherever they are, right? I don't know about you, but I don't have a maid. I didn't have a maid in my classroom either. So I had to plunge the toilet. I had to clean things in addition to administering the testing schedule, coordinating students coming in, notifying them, making sure they had bus passes, making sure they had childcare vouchers so that they could take their kids to the daycare that was just down the next building, right? So we wear many hats, fair? And you can say things out loud. We can pretend we're in a Baptist church if you want. Yes, amen, right? Any of those things. I love the interaction. That's going to be really important. I want to also get a sense of how you're feeling about your giddy up. And I don't know how old some of you are, but tell me if you remember this song. Because this is how I feel sometimes. The rolling, rolling, rolling song, and now the Wi-Fi is. I feel like this, like I'm out on a dusty trail. You guys feel like that? Feel like you just gotta keep rolling. Oh my goodness, yes, right? You gotta keep those doggies rolling, right? That's how I'm feeling right now. I don't know about anybody else. You wanna raise your hand or you can just, keep it to yourself. We have lots of changes going on, but one thing that has not changed is the 45 years that CASAS has led adult ed and adult assessments. So how's your giddy up doing when it comes to assessment right now? How's your giddy up doing? So let's start with, is it, oh my gosh, the mountain lion has been spotted. I'm laying low with the calves and the herd at the ranch. That's when we rustle up and pull back and get out of danger's way, right? Is it, I'm relocating the herd to fertile pastures, keeping the herd out of the trees? Or maybe a little of both, right? Or is it, we're grazing in greener pastures and watching the sunset on the horizon? So how's your assessment? How's your feeling when it comes to assessment right now? Are you laying low and staying put? Are you relocating and adjusting? Or are you grazing and feeling good? It's okay. Just give me a sense, give you a minute to reflect. Which one is it? Might be more than one. No, that's gonna happen. Laying low and staying, but maybe on some things, right? Relocating and adjusting. Feeling like this is an opportunity. We're gonna look at it hopefully, and we're gonna look at it as an opportunity to retool and redesign. Grazing and feeling good. Some days I feel really good about that. How many of you feel some days you're rolling along, you're feeling pretty good about it? So we're not always in one category or the other, are we? The reason that I want to do something like this is there's an elephant in the room right now in adult education. Is that fair to say? Or a mountain lion, if you will. Things are changing. And yet, this is my mantra. I will keep doing the good work that I've been doing for the good people who deserve it. Make sense? And I really hope that we can continue from the keynote speaker today and from all the messaging we heard. This is a hopeful time for us in some ways. We get to rethink and retool. And this is cutting out, isn't it? Yeah. And we get to have an opportunity to say to the people that we're serving, we're here for you. When other things may not feel strong and stable for them, we can continue to do so. Okay, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Just joking. CASAS is also here for you. We've been here before the NRS existed. We created the first set of adult reading standards for math, standards as well. The CASAS competencies have been around for 40 some years because we said adults need something different, right? So we've been here all along. We're going to continue to be here, and we're going to share with you a little bit about this system that we have. How many of you are administering or know CASAS assessments? Raise your hand high, please, high. I'm trying to get a sense if we're advanced, somewhere in between. Okay, thank you. How many of you have never looked at a CASAS assessment before? Okay, great, thank you. How many of you are somewhat familiar? You've joined us at an office hours, or you have dabbled, you field tested, you've looked online, but you're not using it with students yet? A little bit then with students, got it. Come on in, thank you, we're glad you're here. So we're going to explore the new test series, reading and listening. I'm going to say you can use your devices in this classroom as long as they're on task and you're not making bets on March Madness. And analyze and interpret CASAS reports. We're gonna look at a sample report. And then we'll talk a little bit about how those reports can guide instruction. And then you'll also get a little highlight of some really brand new stuff. You're first to hear it. Oh wait, there's more. Let's run over to the little silver bullet, right? So there's gonna be quite a few things we're gonna cover. I'm going to move quickly, but if you need me to repeat something or you wanna clarify something, please raise your hand. Feel free to do that, and yes, and I will be happy to answer them, okay? Yes, so if you have not signed in on the sign-in sheet, it's being passed around, please make sure you do so. If you do not have a pen or a pencil, if you do not have a pen or a pencil and a green set of stickies, you need at least a couple of green sticky notes. There should have been plenty on the chair. And then also my card is back there. So I'm trying not to yell in this, but my teacher voice is there. Let us be your compass. We have a whole student journey. The thing that makes CASAS assessments unique for ESL is our assessments take your students, your ELL learners, from the very low beginning,
Not the mic itself.
from the low beginning to intermediate and advanced ELLs, to those who are bridging the gap between ELL and, I'm going to go forward here for a second. Looks like. And we offer reading and listening. That's the reading and listening steps and other tools. So if you have some students who are Spanish speaking and they have 3 to 9 years of education in their home country and Spanish as their native language, we do offer a Spanish reading comprehension test. Say good hello to my good friend, John. And we also offer a writing assessment that assesses language through multiple choice and a writing that has 3 essay prompts. And so we're going to look at some of that today. We bridge that gap between ESL programs and ABE programs. Our students cross that bridge. We have a series called the Goals Series that goes low enough to capture our highest advanced ESL students. I'll say it again and show you hands. Our ELL students progress on a scale to it from low beginning to advanced, right? When they reach that advanced level, some of them are ready to co-enroll or dual enroll, right? In ABE, like for GED prep, or maybe a tech prep program, but they're there. They just still need a little bit more language support, right? Right? So they can bridge into the Goals series, which looks very similar, has the same feel of the online testing service that we offer called eTest. And the types, and they have to speak slower. It's God, I need to be quiet and slow. The ABE Goals series allows our students to be able to see stuff that looks similar and to not freak out that it's so hard. You like that academic way of talking about it, right? And that's what I love about our system. Now,
for our students, we have essential skills that are life and work applicable. We don't do math or reading or listening in isolation, right? We do it to do something. We read to understand us. Can you run out and ask the tech person to come in here?
I can do that. By the way, Ohio is in the house, joining us hybrid.
Great. Hi, Ohio in the house. And just tell him that the audio is cutting out a lot. Thank you. So we are excited. I'm going to move forward into the meat of this content. The other systems and assessments don't have these parallels that I'm showing you. So here's a step series. There are 5 levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The step series can be delivered via e-tests or paper tests. Some of you are in the room are familiar already with this. So let me ask those folks, what does this mean? Why are there 2? One is dark, one is lighter. Raise your hand if you're administering CASAS tests. Yes.
It's different test forms for the same level.
So there are 2 alternate forms. What's it called? Alternate forms. What's it called? Alternate forms. And they are for level A, it's the same content, the same functional level, not any harder, similar difficulty, right? This is low beginning. The forms have different test questions in them so that it's not the familiarity with a question, it's measuring the skill, not their familiarity. Make sense? All right. So student tests of English progress and success is what STEPS stands for. Any questions about the 5 levels, alternate forms? Yes, ma'am?
Can you use this as a placement test?
Yes, you can use CASAS STEPS appraisal just for placement, but if you're going to be tracking, we have what's called the locator and pre-test testing section that does it all at once. The reading steps and listening steps series was approved almost 2 years ago. We got a 7-year approval. It's able to be used until 2030. Hello, my friends from Puerto Rico. It is NRS approved already. We have programs using it already. I do want to just mention the goals series because it, again, as we said earlier, our highest functioning ELLs may be bridging into and co-enrolled in ABE to be able to start GED prep or something like that, or HiSED, depending on what state you're in. Also is administered through e-tests, and this is the exciting part. Are you ready? Can somebody give me a drum roll, or everybody give me a drum roll, please? The Goals 1 series had 4 levels. Goals 2 has 5. So I want to do a demonstration. Can you hold this for me, please? Thank you. So imagine a giant candy bar in 4 sections. Got it? We're going to do some mind math. 1 section of 4 is called 1/4. 1 section of 4 is called, if I have a candy bar in 5 sections, 1 section is 1/5. Which is wider or bigger, 1/4 or 1/5? 1/5 is smaller, 1/4 is bigger, right? Everybody with me so far? Now imagine.
They're coming.
Now imagine that the candy bar has 5 sections and we agreed that 1/5 is smaller, yes? Imagine that's a scale, a section of a scale score. You with me? So the thing that's beautiful about Goals 2 is that the band of scale scores is, everybody, smaller. Why is that important? Because When we look at, I'm gonna go past this, reading goals 2 is on its way in. When we look at the way the test series is designed, the old test series was only 4 levels, which meant students had to travel farther or bite more off of the candy bar before they got to the next section. Make sense? I think the analogy works, right? I have to eat more chocolate, takes me longer to eat more chocolate with 4 levels. But when I have 5, it's a smaller piece. It breaks down the chunk that they have to get through faster. Just keeps cutting out. And with reading steps, it's 5 levels. So we have levels, everybody know their alphabet with me? A, B, C, D, and now E. So 5 levels. Level E is now 5, is level E. He's gonna work some magic, so we don't have to worry about that. So the other thing that's very different about the STEP series is it covers levels 1 through 6 of the NRS. Not all test series that test ESLs in ESL programs or ELLs cover all 6 from low beginning to high advanced. I'm very curious about how he's going to fix this. He's going to do some magic. The other thing, and this is a mistake. This is not a mistake. This is what we used to use standards-wise to measure. So the Life and Work Reading Series use the CASAS content standards. And over the years, we kept revising them, right? And then at the state level or at the national and federal level, we were invited to a symposium and they looked at our content standards and said, we need to take the college and career readiness standards and create a set of English language proficiency standards for ELLs, right? So federally, then we said, oh, that's not fair if you move from Nevada to Louisiana and have to start all over with a different set of standards. We need a national set of standards, the English language proficiency standards, so that people have a closure of that opportunity gap, right? We want to serve all people. Let us not forget that this test series has always been CASAS competencies have been measured, and in the new test series, CASAS competencies are also there. And that's great for our life and work awareness, right? And if you're on a pathway to work. All right, so what are the 3 things that are measured in each test item? The top, standards. Which standards? Which standards? English language proficiency standards. Raise your hand if you've had a PD, delivered a PD, or you are familiar with the ELPs. Raise your hand high. Okay, so about half of you are familiar with these English language proficiency standards. This is what we're teaching. We want our ELLs to be proficient in the English language, yes? So our test items, every single one of them is going to be a 1-to-1. The test item is 1 standard that's measured. The test item is 1 standard being measured to make sure that we're targeting the standard correctly. The CASAS competencies, and then our task and item types, which we're going to look at. And those task and item types are 2 different things. Reading has reading tasks, right? Earlier we said reading to do something. So what's that called? A task. So what is it called when a student takes a CASAS test and they're looking at the test item? It's a task type. There's something that they're doing with it, right? The item type applies to listening. There are certain types of listening skills that our English language learners need to understand to be proficient in English language. So what does that look like? Well, first of all of our tests are relevant and responsive test items. What does that mean? It's relevant to the population that's taking the test. We're not testing their exposure or the context of something, right? If you didn't grow up in this country, you wouldn't know it because you weren't exposed to it. That's not what we're testing. None of the test items are gonna trick anybody. They're basic proficiency skills that are being measured. And responsive to the student's needs, meaning they're gonna be things like bus schedules and emails and job applications that they have to find details in. That's the skill we're measuring, right? Finding details for reading. The schedule that or the thing that we're measuring is, what is this email's main idea? What's the big idea here that the boss is asking you to do in this email? Anybody have to do any of those things in their real life and work? We all do, right? So that's the beauty of these responsive test items. So take out your personal handheld device and scan the QR code. And I want to give you just 3 minutes. I'm conscious of our time. I want to give you 3 to 4 minutes to explore the reading steps or the listening steps. Reading steps or listening steps. Crossing our fingers if the QR code is still working. Okay, raise your hand if you've been able to find the e-test sampler. For reading, you got to reading. Everybody looking at sample test items of some kind on the CASAS e-test sampler. Thumbs up, thank you. Thumbs up, everybody good? All right, you can turn and talk to your neighbor, or if you're an independent learner and you want to just be quiet, that's okay too. Intrapersonal, that's inside of you. Or if you want to be interpersonal, you can do that too. Take about 3 minutes to explore those test items, and I want you to do this. I want you to think about, what do you notice about those test items? Nothing academic, just what do you notice? And how does that connect to your role or your work? Okay? What do you notice? How does it connect? Any questions about the task? Okay. Explore reading, or you can go back to the e-test sampler and explore listening steps. What do you notice? And how does that connect to what you're doing?
Yeah, yeah, and you imagine they're doing it for their head, and then you have some hard.
Oh, I didn't know that it advanced. I didn't do that. So please stay here for just a second, because they're having trouble getting online, so I'm gonna go to the website. And last time I did this, then they couldn't see it again.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So where's my cursor?
That's me. So we bring it towards, it's either gonna be the left or the right.
Right, so. It's not advancing. Oh,
No,
that
it's
is-
not doing a darn thing, is it? Okay.
You take about another minute to look at your wonder, or to look at your, what you notice. Have at least one thing to share. Have at least one thing to share. I think on the phone, it's hard to see it, so let's see what I want to say. Yeah, we're gonna look at it.
Okay,
Is it responding now?
it should be.
Okay, thank you for staying here. I just need to make sure that this works right. So I am keyword searching CASAS test sample items. Sample test items. And we're looking at the CASAS e-test sampler. I want to show you an alternate way. Let's say in addition to the e-test sampler, you want to just look at the listening steps series only. On the left-hand sidebar, you can see the listening steps sample test items either by NRS level, and the audio examples are here. So I want to share. So you can download these. How might you use this with your students? How might you use this with your students? To get them comfortable with it, tell me more about what it is.
Actual testing process, so it's, the test is basic, it's just, we actually test them, see what they know. What they don't.
So to get the students comfortable with the platform, what they're going to see, is that what you're? Yeah. Okay.
That, and the students are really taking the test, it's very stressful. And because they know they're taking the test and time is limited, and so I think just practicing basic navigation around the test.
Level B sample questions. There are 2 parts. Each part has 1 practice question. Directions. Listen to the speaker. Listen to 3 possible answers. Choose the correct answer. Do not guess. Click the arrow to go to the next question. You cannot go back.
So the sample test items are going to give our folks an opportunity to point and click,
Part 1.
go to the next practice item. Low stakes.
First, you will hear a question. Next, listen carefully to what is said. You will hear the question again. Then choose the correct answer, A, B, or C. You will hear everything 2 times. Practice 1. How many children does the man have?
How many children do you have?
3, 2 boys and 1 girl.
The list.
How many children does the man have? A, 1. B, 2. C, 3.
What's the answer? So this gives students an opportunity to understand the.
Practice 1. How many children does the man have?
How many children do you have?
3, 2 boys and 1 girl.
It's repeating.
How many children does the man have? A, 1. B, 2. C, 3. Is the answer A, B, or C?
This is a practice question. It's coaching them and teaching them how to use it.
C is correct.
Okay, so we've got some questions. Before we
Remember,
do that, I want to be
You can
really
listen
clear.
2 times, or you can choose an answer
I want to
and
be
click
really
the
clear.
This is a sample test item. This is not the actual test. They won't get the coaching and yes, you're correct, all that. They will get the question and the prompt orally twice. So the implications for actually taking the test are as we need to prepare them for what they're going prepare them for what they're going to hear, right? And practice with them before they go to the testing platform. Now, we did have some questions. We had some questions. Yes, ma'am. For the listening test, is online the only way that they can take the test, or is there a paper-based or CD version? And the answer to that is both. This delivery of this test is in both paper and online. Now, level A is the only one that has a paper booklet. It's a listening test, not a reading test. All of the rest is audio files. And they're on a CD that you can download and create MP3s, or you can, if you have a CD player, our tech support works with people to help them do that. Another question, you had your hand up. Right, so the question is, don't you also need to prepare your ELL students for syntax and understanding the question and the way it is formed? What comes first, what comes next, right? That's very important. So they know how to listen for the right piece of information. So we're learning, these are all things that are listening skills that we're gonna, in a 2-day orientation, we just did this with Garden Grove in California. They talk about how they prepare their students, their ELL students, for taking the test. And if we have time, I'll show you where that information is. But if not, you can take the card and email me and I'll send that to you. They have a 2-day test preparation orientation for their ELL students. And it has significantly decreased test anxiety. It has increased their comfort level and their retention rate, because they're preparing them to take the test. Other question, there's a question, yes, here, and then I think I don't know who was up first, I'm so sorry.
So going by your sample options there, my level 1 English students would not understand anything that was said to them. So in the level A tests, are they, I don't know, those instructions were very difficult. My students wouldn't, even if I were to try to explain it to them, they wouldn't understand. So how low does level A go?
So that's a great question. We're gonna look at the blueprints and what's in the test. It goes down to low beginning. This is normed for no English all the way to advanced. The test items themselves, that's why it's really important that we prepare them for what they're gonna see on the test. There may be some instruction in front of that. And we'll talk about how programs do that as well. But the blueprints are important.
So CASAS steps test, if you want to find all the information about the steps series, while I have the website up, you'll see that is the first hit for reading steps, and you can also hit the listening steps here. So as you can see, there's a lot of resources about reading steps online, and all of the things that I'm going to be showing you in this PowerPoint are also online. And I meant to mention this and I forgot at the beginning. I'll upload this presentation to the Whova app so you can have it. So no stress there as well. Yes, you can have it. It's not proprietary information in the sense that you want to use it. You need the information, right? Okay, I am going to go back to my PowerPoint. We are in a hybrid session, so hello and shout out to all our folks who are in hybrid. And then your question, go ahead.
Students were transitioning from adult ed to high ed community college level. One of the most difficult things in listening and speaking class was to explain to them the importance of taking notes during the listening session. Can they take notes during this?
That's a really great question. I'm gonna ask the group here for a second. Are we assessing their ability to take notes and remember, or are we assessing their listening skills and remember? We're assessing their listening skills. Now, a listening skill is to take notes so that you can remember, right? But the CASAS field test is not taking notes. We're not, it is measuring a person's ability to listen, respond, retain, and respond. Does that make sense? So listen, retain, and respond. And so that is how the psychometricians say, that's how we measure listening, right? That's the ability to measure listening, right? Taking notes, tell me what you're gonna say.
You know, because I think there's a difference, like, especially helps us as students are older, to remember from the beginning to the end of the longer paddle. So
Right.
taking notes for the purpose of submitting the notes, whatever, but just to remember the details that you're going to ask about, you know.
Right. Right.
So we're making it less of a memory.
Yeah, and this test is not measuring memory. So just to be clear, when it's field tested and we have all the people who are way smarter than me, are making this test, they're very clear it has nothing to do with memory, what's being measured. What's being measured is what is considered a listening comprehension skill. And I'm not that psychometrician, but I have to trust that they know what they're doing when they're designing a listening test. And that's why, sorry, I'm eating like mince, like they're popcorn. So I hear you. And I myself am a note taker because my prefrontal cortex does not work right and my norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor does not work right, right? It moves really fast. Sorry, I just had to learn about why my brain doesn't do certain things. So this listening test for me, not even as an ELL student, is hard, right? But it's also a skill that I've had to develop over time. And that's what we want our students to do, right? Is to be able to develop that listening skill. So that's what it's measuring. But I can put you in touch with our ITD team and they can explain to you probably way smarter, better than I can about that. But we know it's not measuring memory. I can promise you that. It is measuring the listening skills. Okay. Thank you for the question. It comes up every time. Okay, something else that's really important about the STEPS test, the levels. How many are there? Okay, 5. How many are there? Levels. We're going to draw off that again. A, B, C, D, and E. And why that's important is this test series is different than other test series. I'll say that again. It's not a 1-to-1. This level equals NRS level 1. This level equals NRS 2. It's different. Level A, if you look at your, speaking of reading tables and charts and graphs, right? Which NRS level does level C correspond to? 3 and 4. So each level corresponds to 2 NRS levels. Now, why that's important is because you were talking about your low beginning. I'm going to loop back to you now, okay? Pinky promise, okay? Level A covers the full expanse of the functional skills that low beginning and beginning ESL students need to cover. And we're going to look at the blueprints. Oops, we're going to look at the blueprints. That means even if my low beginning, right, there's an oral screening and there's a reading screening and a whole intake process that we recommend before you even get to the level tests to determine, right? So like in Montana, for example, they do the intake screening, oral, reading, and a writing. And when they're doing the oral intake, they ask the person, what's your name? Joanne. Okay, now you're going to put yourself in the shoes of your ELL student. Your name is Joanne. What street do you live on? Say a house. A house. The question was, what street do you live on? And she answered, a house, right? So there's a whole rubric for this intake screening to help you determine how they're functioning. To determine whether we would wait a few hours of instruction, give them level A, right? And that intake to prepare them for the level A test. So by the time they get done taking the appraisal if it's paper-based, or locator if it's e-test. The thing that's great about e-test, they're going to take the locator plus level A, 15 minutes on a locator, and 30 minutes on level A. This is the reading steps test. Can we do some more mind math? How many minutes does it take? It's not how many, my dad used to say, how many Polacks, because we're Polish, does it take to put in a light bulb? It's not one of those questions. How many minutes should you allow in your testing schedule if you are working after your intake process with your low beginning students, because we know they need things differently, right? Should we allow for them to take the locator plus level A? How many minutes? 15 plus.
45.
So 45 minutes. And then we always want to say we give 10 or 15 minutes in the testing schedule to get them set up on the right station. So those, you're smart about that, right? But the actual test, on average, what do you notice about, from our research studies, what do you notice about how long it's actually taking our students to take the reading steps test level A? They're finishing faster. This is low beginning. Important to note, we don't have people guess, right? We want them to test what they know, leave the others blank. We don't want to measure their guesses, right? We want to know what they really want to know. And in the test protocol, it says all that. You use all the right words and say the same thing over and over again. Those of you who raise your hand who use that steps for testing day document, look, I'm like Mary Poppins. I happen to just have those right here in this bag. We have the steps for testing day document. So when you go to deliver the testing session, you are saying to them, the purpose of taking this test, and I can do this in Espanol, Carla can, I can't. The purpose of taking the test is to determine what you need to learn. It is very important to do your best on the test. If you do not know the answer, do not guess. Do not guess. Continue to the next question without answering. That is a critical piece of this test, right? Make sure that you follow that test protocol so that when they get done with the test, you have a valid score. You know they've not just guessed, right? But they've truly answered the questions. Okay, so real quickly, can you test different levels at the same time on a listening test? This is reading. Yes. Who wants to answer why? Yes. You can test students on the listening test at a different time because you're going to bring them in. Let's say we're in the pre-test cycle now, right? You bring them into the learning lab. They've got earphones. So you could be level B, C, D, A, right next to each other. And I'm going to peek over your screen because I like to cheat. And it's not going to do me any good. Because the locator is going to place her in the appropriate level. She's going to get different questions at level, were you B or C? You were C, smarty pants. Okay, so the listening test can be delivered at the same time, different levels. So can the reading test. And again, these charts are all up online. They're also in the test administration manual, right? So what else do we want to know about the reading or the listening steps test? Number of test items. Do you want to do a GRE question? This is like a really hard test that they made me take. I was like, I can't take this test because it's multiple choice. So I did Miller's analogies, but this is going to be a really hard question. Are you ready for it? All right, hit me. Hit it. All right. If you are testing students at multiple levels at the same time for a pre-test, if you are testing students for a pre-test and you don't know what level they're all at, what's the maximum amount of time that you should allow in the testing site or center? What do we need to tell them? You need to be prepared to stay for blank amount of minutes.
They do both.
Just reading steps pre-test. What's the maximum amount of time we need to allow in a testing?
Well, not even setting up.
The locator is 15, we're online plus 75. 90 minutes for the actual test taking total. Some of them are going to get done sooner. Some of them are going to take longer, right? On a pretest. Now, when you post-test, you can break them down, right? Into level B, C, D, or E, but do you have to? No, because they've got earphones and they're listening to their own listening prompts, right? Question, yes.
What is their level that we're gonna be kind of doing, depending when we're doing an interview, we can see how much English they know, and that will let me know if it's gonna be a lower level or a higher level.
Right, that's why that intake, so she's saying that we can kind of have a sense from the intake screening that CASAS offers. We can kind of have a sense, right? And if they're low, we're not gonna waste time with a locator, right? Based on the rubric, not what we're doing just by looking at them, but based on a rubric, very specific criteria, we're just gonna go straight to level A. Because we know from our intake oral screening, they said house, and then the rest of the 5 questions that you ask in the oral screening, they're like, or they look down or whatever, right? Yes, question.
So I just want to make sure that I have a good understanding of this. So if you go back like 2 slides to the levels, so what would, if I'm NRS level 2, would I be testing A or B, or would that be determined by the oral test?
So that's a really good question. If I'm testing at level NRS level 2, is the algorithm in e-test going to give me a level A or a level B on a pretest? It depends on the locator answers. That's what the locator is for. So depending on how the student is functioning at level, on the locator and the answers that they give, if on the harder questions, they get all those right, and the easier questions, not to say all right, but the algorithm is going to decide if it's more appropriate for them to have a level A or a level B
So
test.
the locator just saves you the oral test just saves you time in the locator.
So the oral, she's shaking her head. So she's asking, does the intake screening help save time on the locator? No, that's not the way it works. So it's intake screening, oral, reading, writing, you choose, and we're not going to go into the intake screening significantly today. Then you administer the locator plus pre-test. It's all one testing session in e-tests. And then in paper tests, it's an appraisal. Oops, wrong screen, right? In the paper-based test version, the appraisal has more questions. And so there's a next, this is weird. There we go. Getting there. The appraisal has 28 items, 30 minutes. And so it's going to give you a broader set of questions and more of them because there's no algorithm behind it. This is my algorithm with paper-based testing. Yeah.
Just remind me, I took the classes training for so long.
That's okay.
What is the difference? What is an appraisal? I know what a locator
Sure.
is.
The difference between an appraisal and locator is this. They both do the same thing. They have a broad set of questions from low to high, right? And it decides, I can't do this. I always do this, but I can't do it with a microphone in my hand. Like this. Okay, so low, high, medium, it goes back, the appraisal test is going to determine based on the questions, it's a set form. The locator, on the other hand, is AI in e-tests on the platform. So it's going to adjust a little differently and it's smarter than I am, to be honest, right? So that's why I love e-tests, because I don't want to rely on me making a mistake. So the student takes a set form of questions and we're gonna move on. In the appraisal. The difference in the appraisal and locator, they function the same way. They locate the student's functioning level to administer the level test. Okay, they function the same way. These are a smaller band. These have a wide band of questions. Scale score low to high. Yep, you've got your hand up and then here. And then we're gonna move on because we've got lots to cover. Yeah, no, that's a great clarifying question. Is it necessary to do the appraisal? So can anybody answer that question? Paper-based is the appraisal. The way the system works is the appraisal is paper-based. With e-test, the locator is what is administered together with the level test automatically. In a paper-based version, I'm just going to visualize, okay? I've got an appraisal, take the appraisal, 30 questions, give it back to me. I've scored it. You're a level B. I go over, I get my level B test, and now she gets a level B. In the computer, take your test. I start locator plus pretest, takes the test. Et voila, Mary Poppins. Suddenly, I know that the student is functioning at a level C. The student doesn't see two things test-wise. They're in one sitting in one testing session. Great question. Because that's what I was going to sum up with. So I'll give you that $20 later. Okay, reading steps, listening steps. I want to be conscious of the time. My watch is really fast. We have 13 minutes, correct? Excellent. So let's look at those blueprints for just a quick second. Here's an example of the reading steps blueprints. What's a blueprint? It's a map. What's a blueprint? When I'm building a house, it shows me the foundation. It shows me the foundation. It's a guide for how to build the house. It shows me what's in the house. There's a bathroom, a baño, there's a kitchen, cucina, right? We know the different parts of the house based on the blueprint. We know what's in the house, right? So with the blueprint, the reading steps content standards blueprints, A, B, C, D, E. I'm just showing you an example of 3 graphic representations of what the steps reading content standards are. Those 3 levels, right? So take a minute to turn and talk to your shoulder partner. What do you see are the shifts? Ooh, like DOK, like we're getting into DOK level 5, level 4, depth of knowledge. Comparing and contrasting 3 charts. What do you see is the shift of focus on the standards from level A, C to E? How does the focus of standards and what's measured in the test shift from low to the highest? Any questions about the task? How do the standards that are covered at each level shift and change? What's different between level A to C to E using these pie graphs? That's it. Any questions? So what we're looking at is a content standards blueprints, which is the what standards? ELPS. Questions? Just 1 to 2 minutes. How's it change over the levels? Thumbs up. Ready, set, go.
Okay, great. I hate to shut down. I hate to shut it down, but I heard a lot of great things. I have what's it called? The Superman thing, you know? That's part of the way my brain works is that I can hear all the conversations. It's really great what I heard. Can somebody say what they say? You know who you are. What the difference is from level A, where the focus is over half of the questions are vocabulary. We're not teaching what? We're not teaching inference at level A. That makes no sense, scope and sequence wise, right? So what did you notice was the difference? Because there were many things that people noticed. Where's the shift? What did you notice? From vocabulary to.
Oh, I was going to see.
Okay, yeah. So it shifts the focus from vocabulary at level A to less about vocabulary, more about recognizing details, because we need to find out the details that are important and not important in the scope and sequence to then start understanding main idea and inference and to be able to look at point of view, right? So details, 27%, 60% of the standards that are covered are focusing on details in the middle range. That's our intermediate students. And then less focus on vocabulary at the end. What else?
Each skill on level E is just about as important as that.
Giddy up, right? Let's all say giddy up, giddy up. There's more of a balance at the advanced level. Why? Higher functioning level, they have to be doing all of the things. They have to do all of them together by that point.
I'm wondering, details on level A, that seems really high to me, because in A, details 27%. I'm just thinking that is just really high. When you're working on vocabulary and basic numbers,
so the texts are less complex. So we need to also think about like the ELPs, right? Less complex text. By the time we get to the text may be 1 or 2 words, right? It might say Monday or Tuesday, and there be a bus schedule. So the details might be very limited, and they're all very much connected to vocabulary. That's a great question.
they're reading the paragraph and trying to figure out.
Absolutely not. Totally not be appropriate for level.
Yeah.
That's why I encourage you to go look at these level tests so you can see those questions. Great job, everybody. So listening, I want to make sure that we cover this. This is important on this test series. The listening prompts have a photo prompt for vocabulary, details. They're retelling a key detail, like how many children does the man have? 3. That's the level of complexity at the lowest level, right? Dialogue, continuing the conversation. Oops, what happened to my end parent? Oh. Main idea, identifying the main topic of the text, and then summarizing. These are the 5 types of content areas that are going to be covered. Welcome. And I want you to just take 1 to 2 minutes again, turn to somebody different if you can. You don't have to. You may be comfortable with that person right now. Adult learning, just do your thing.
Level A, what do you notice is the significant difference on the listening? Now remember, we're in listening now, not reading. Listening steps. What is the significant difference between level A and levels B, C, D, and E? Any questions? What's a significant difference? Turn and talk. Everybody good? Ready, set, go. In context. It's less than right? And more recognizing it as a Okay. There's a. So a couple of you are still talking. A couple of you are still talking. This is a great conversation to have. So I'm modeling things that you can do for PD, for those of you, by the way, who are administrators and organizing PD. I'm modeling those things right now, right, with the questioning. It's very important to do, right, with teachers especially. Okay, you know what the significant difference is, right? Great question. Can you say what you said up here about vocabulary? Say it out loud.
I asked about the vocabulary on the higher levels. That it doesn't look like it's really a part of the higher level listening.
We're not discretely teaching vocabulary. Now we're looking at the vocabulary in context to decide if it's important detail or not, and apply the vocabulary to the dialogue itself. What to listen for, exactly. Okay, I want to be conscious of the fact, I just want you to see, this is a different way. If I could have your attention, we do have 5 more minutes, and I want to make sure we maximize that time. Oh, 2 or 3 more minutes. Okay. In your test blueprints, when you go look at these things, same information, different type of table. Got it? Same thing. Level A, the ELPs, functioning levels 1 and 2, dialogue, ELP standard, 24%, right? We saw 24% on the pie graph. It's just a table. That's all in the test blueprints for your further perusal. All right, this is a PD, ready-made. There you go. You can slip me $100 when you watch out the door. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. This is a homemade PD that you can do to talk with teachers about why it's important for you to know what's in the test. That's the guiding question for this PD. Have them navigate to the assessments. Have them look at reading steps. Let them choose. Who's looking at reading, who's teaching listening, or if you teach them both, choose one. Group them, and then have them do the notice and wonder and give you an exit ticket for that meeting. Valuable? Homemade PD right there. There you go. And it's going to be in the presentation, so you can have the links and everything. Like it? Love it? Okay, keep the dress, right? All right. The test reports, this section is not about that, but just a little teaser. Carla and I are going to be doing a session tomorrow about the test reports themselves and the data that you can get. So what are the 3 things, quick check for understanding, what are the 3 things that are in each test item? Standards, everybody, standards, competencies, and task and item types. Those are the 3 things in every test item. What is approved by the NRS for the total 7 number of years? What's the name of the test series for ESL student or for ESL programs? Steps. And how many levels are there? And where can you find the resources and the blueprints and the sample test items? CASAS.org.
Thank you so much. It's been great to meet you all. Please take my card. Oh, also, I wanted to thank her for helping me. Thank you for helping me. I appreciate it. Please stop by the CASAS booth at 105 and 107. We'd love to continue the conversation.